listen to you move your mouth. I bet you come from way down south. Now don't tell me, let me guess, you from the town that I love best. Talk Memphis, I wish you would. Talk Memphis, you sound so good. Talk Memphis, high on the bluff. I swear I can't get enough listening to you talk that stuff. Talk Memphis, oh yeah, talk Memphis.
It's the only podcast by Memphis, for Memphis, about Memphis. Interesting people talking about Memphis. Memphians talking about interesting things. It's time to Talk Memphis with David Waters.
Earlier this month, Michael Rallings was named director of the Memphis Police Department. He had been interim director since January. Welcome, Director.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, David.
Thanks for taking time to do this. So, does the badge feel any heavier this month?
It feels about the same. I will say that, kind of, I guess once the decision is made and you're kind of carrying the weight, and then when you get the weight strapped to you, it definitely is no doubt about the level of responsibility. So I will say it did get a little heavier, but also it just solidifies my commitment to MPD and our citizens of Memphis to come and try to make things better.
Now, for folks who don't know much about you, you grew up in Memphis. In fact, you grew up, I think, in Scudderfield in the North Memphis area.
Well, when I was a little boy, I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house in the Scudderfield area, 1013 Tully, but also, right across from Glenview Park on Kyle, Whitehaven, East Memphis. I ended up graduating from Wooddale, went to Sherwood Junior High at that time. I went to a number of elementary schools, so I think I got a good taste of a lot of Memphis, where you wouldn't get pigeonholed into one way of thinking. You get exposed to the African American community, the white community, and now I'm looking forward to spending a lot of time with the Latino community. But I think that experience and the experience of 30 and a half years in the United States Army just gives you a really wide view of what the world is made of and what makes things tick. So again, I just thankful for the exposure that I've had, and I want to share that with some young people that may not have been exposed so much outside of their block. You've been very open about the fact that you were no angel growing up, got into some trouble. I'm still not an angel. Here by the grace of God, and that's really the bottom line I try to share with people, that I hadn't met I met some people that I thought were angels, but the day that I meet an angel coming from heaven, I'll probably be shaking in my boots like most people would be. But I think that we all can get better. We all have the same opportunity under God, and that's what I want to share with people.
What turned it around for you? What led you toward being a police officer?
I always wanted to be a police officer. I only wanted to be two things in life: a soldier and a police officer. So, ever since, being a young boy, I knew that was my calling. So, after I finished my first 4 years of active duty, came home, just thought that things were going to line up for me. And I tell people, I share something that, now we have a lot of people that are starting entry-level jobs or their first job, and for some reason they're thinking that should be their only job. I tell people, McDonald's is not your only job. It should be your first job. My first job was at McDonald's.
Oh, is that right? Where at?
We opened the store right across from Hickory Ridge Mall, but that was when I was in high school. Went to the Army, did 4 years, and I said, I'm going to go home and everybody's going to want to hire me, and that didn't happen. I went back to the same McDonald's that I worked at in high school.
After the Army. Wow.
After the Army, I said, man, there's got to be something better in life. Work security, I worked at Target, I worked at Shoney's. I had 3 jobs to make one. Start working for Guardsmark, and I just said, something's got to give. I was going to school, and then I heard the police department announce that they were going to test, and I said, that is for me. And I signed up for the test, and the rest has been history.
Did you know police officers growing up? Was there somebody in your family who was a police officer? What drew you to that?
The police officers I knew were on TV. So, I was just taken away by the officers on TV. And like I said, when I joined the Army, that was kind of all in the same lines. Came out and I knew that was a job for me, and I love it. And, I can, just want to expose the career opportunities that we offer with the Memphis Police Department to some other folks that may not know, how they can change their life.
You joined the police department in 1990. When you were a patrol officer early in your career, what was different then than is now? I mean, how are things changed now that police officers have to deal with maybe in a different way that you didn't have to?
That's tough because I look at my lens has changed. So as a patrolman, I just was focused on, my block or my beat. And we're just coming to work every day, having a great time, trying to make a difference. Now my blinders are different. I'm looking at the whole city. I'm looking at the United States, the whole world of policing. But, if I kind of put it in perspective, the negativity, I don't remember being exposed to the negativity. I don't remember law enforcement being attacked. I don't remember the scrutiny because I think that people realize more the value of police officers. In the 90s were some challenging times. So I think that, social media and a 24-hour news cycle did not exist.
Yeah.
We didn't have a cell phone then. So the world has certainly changed in the 26 years I've been here. So I think it's almost like comparing apples and oranges to when we started to where we are now because, the internet was not I remember having a dial-up, just to get on AOL, and we thought that was Star Wars type stuff. And now I can FaceTime with my grandson in another state, real time on my iPhone, and he can dial and call me, and I think that's just amazing.
I've talked to police officers who are working now, and another difference they've noticed over the years is that seem to be more guns out there now.
You know what? I don't know. That could be a possibility. I'd have to go back and look at because we took a lot of guns off the street then, so I don't know. But looking at some recent national kind of sales figures, talking about the amount of guns that are moving through FFLs from a federal standpoint, there appears to be more gun sales, more guns moving through gun shows, etc. So I think this national fury to get guns, it could be a difference. But again, without looking at the data, it'd be hard to make that call.
You mentioned the negativity that you are feeling, or police officers are feeling these days, being attacked verbally and otherwise. Do you feel that that's fair? Why is that happening?
No, I don't think it's fair. I think that there are a few isolated incidents that is something that I can't explain, or anyone in law enforcement that the average police officer will not support. But I see these other instances where police officers are coming under attack for following the law or following their policies. And, there's two courts. There's the court, the established court, and then there's the court of public opinion. And, trying to get the public to understand that we have to allow these things to play out in a court of law first. That the court of public opinion cannot trump the court of law. And that all of these things that are being investigated are in the body of law. For us to truly understand what's happening, we have to understand the laws that govern police use of force, the laws that govern, casual encounters with law enforcement, probable cause stops, etc.
You became extremely well known a couple of months ago at the bridge. There was a large protest downtown, Black Lives Matter. You were down there almost the entire time, and you eventually ended up on the bridge with all of the protesters, hundreds of them. You were walking with them and praying with them. Tell me why. That was an interesting day. For some reason, I think God put me right there. I was supposed to go to WLOK for a news interview, and just happened to stop by the FedEx Forum,
right when things really start to unravel and get heated up. But I got up there because I was really worried about someone losing their life that day. The bridge is not made for pedestrian traffic. When I looked and saw all those people on the bridge and a handful of police officers trying to hold the line, I said, "Oh my God, I've got to get up there." And so, when you talk about why did I march with the protesters, well, that was what we agreed to on the bridge, to walk together to get off the bridge. And I tell people day in and day out that I would have walked down that bridge with a grizzly bear gnawing on my left hand to get as many people off that bridge as we possibly could have gotten off. That could have been a catastrophic situation, and I'm glad that we walked away from there with no one being killed, no one being hurt. There was no property damage. And I think, and I have a lot of friends in Milwaukee, but when I looked and saw what happened in Milwaukee, I say, you know what, that very well could have been Memphis. I'm thankful that the protesters cooperated and that, the police officers cooperated, and we ended up mitigating that. As far as the prayer with the protesters, I can't remember if I asked Wilder Lee to pray or if he wanted to pray, but I think that, after a tough day like that, we wanted to make sure that we thank God for delivering us from that bridge to the FedEx Forum, and that we can set up the platform to try to meet and negotiate and mitigate whatever issues were out on the table. So again, it was just showing thanks for a day that could have ended tragically, that ended very well.
You said that earlier that day, it was a Sunday morning, you went to church and your preacher preached a sermon on peace and calmness, and that helped you.
Yes, he did.
How did that help you during the day?
Without a doubt, because we already had a lot going on in the nation. We already had protests. We already had, law enforcement officers, coming under attack. And it's easy to join the I guess the fury or the excitement and jump on without taking a deep breath and thinking about it. And that was his message. The way I received it was, hey, sometimes you just need to take a deep breath, be calm. He kept saying, peace, be still, talking about Jesus, talking to the disciples and calming down them in the middle of a storm. And I think that we can all learn from that message is that we don't have to jump on anything. We don't have to participate in the chaos. We definitely don't have to, ride and burn and destroy things. We can take a deep breath, calm down, think it through, rely on the Word of God to guide us through these turbulent times and help us get to a better place.
Now, Memphis has had a number of protests before the bridge and since, and there have been no violence. Nobody's really gotten hurt. A few arrests. Do you think there's something about Memphis that has kept things calm here that hasn't happened in other cities?
Well, Memphis has a turbulent history.
Right.
I hope that we have learned from history. I hope that we don't want to be in the spotlight. We already have some challenges here within our city. But you know what? I'm really going to have to give a lot of credit to the citizens, and I'm going to equally give credit to the Memphis Police Department, because since Ferguson, we took on a posture that we're going to support peaceful protests. We have been there to protect the protesters. We hadn't been there to infringe upon anyone's right to protest. We just want it done peacefully. And that's the posture we took on the Director Armstrong, and we have continued that posture, and we will continue that posture. People have a right to protest, but we want them to get a permit. We want them to abide by the limits of that permit, and we want everybody to walk away safely from those type of events.
Crime overall is down in Memphis and declining, and yet homicides this year are up. Can you explain why that's happening?
You know what? I wish I could explain that. We've seen, homicides go up and down. When I look at the data, I think that the last I checked, out of the 60 6 agencies that have been reporting to the Major City Chiefs Association that 44 cities are up in homicides. This is something that we don't have figured out. We've been meeting. We met in Chicago. We met in D.C. We're discussing the issue, trying to figure out why, we're seeing this rise in violent crime. A couple of things, that observations. One is that the lethality of these encounters has gone up. So, access to guns, people shooting more, where these encounters are more lethal, and this kind of, I think that there is a fallout from, all of the protests that we've seen. I think people are more emboldened. As law enforcement has been more scrutinized, I think law enforcement may be engaging less across the nation, and people are more emboldened to do things. We think that groups, these groups, if you think that at least 42% of our homicide victims are gang members, so it appears that there's a group that is more violent that is loosely or closely associated where most of this violence is taking place in.
Now, police officers have always said that you can't predict homicide. You might be able to predict other crimes, burglaries, robberies, and so forth, but homicide can't be predicted. Does that mean it can't be prevented? What can the police department do about homicides?
Well, we've seen a number of programs that have brought success. One, I think about Boston. Boston has really focused on their troubled neighborhoods. We have a little more challenges than Boston, but focusing on the troubled neighborhoods, focusing on the individuals that may have been victims of aggravated assault or homicide within their own group or family, focusing on individuals that may not have the same opportunities, trying to get them job training, trying to help get their records expunged, trying to change their status from maybe where they are to more productive citizens, has shown to be a benefit. We had New Orleans here showing us the NOLA for Life campaign, and we also have partnered with the University of Memphis to study 5 years of our homicides, so we can really have a detailed look into what's going on in Memphis.
Some cities like New York have taken what they call the broken windows approach, trying to prevent very small, minor crimes as a way of sending a message that crime will not be tolerated at all. Some of that involves stop and frisk techniques. Do you anticipate anything like that coming to Memphis?
Well, we've met with New York. Actually, I've talked to New York on a number of occasions. So we're going to look at all of it. I think New York also learned that there was a lot of scrutiny for stop and frisk. So we want to avoid, the scrutiny. I definitely think when you think about the mayor's objectives, to focus on the basics, that's part of it. Paving roads, blight, paying attention to the petty crimes. But at the same token, it's so important that we get our staffing levels up. I mean, there's still some debate about what our proper staffing level is. And I tell people, you can debate it all day long. I'm not debating it. We need 2,500 officers. Given the call volume, the violent crime, the poverty, the challenges we have in our city, we need 2,500 officers to address that. And I definitely look forward to the day when the city and all of our citizens see that, where we can start making those investments. But we also need more community partnership. We have a large number of nonprofits. We have a very robust faith-based community that we need to partner with us also, because we all have a vested interest in changing the state of a lot of Memphians so we can help them move to become more productive citizens and change a lot of these neighborhoods to reduce the amount of violence, to attack the blight, and definitely address the issues that stem from poverty.
A couple of months ago, I wrote a column about the fact that social workers and teachers and police officers generally know when a child is 6, 7, 8 years old if that child is in need of some sort of intervention. And yet so many kids don't get that kind of intervention. Is that what you're talking about? The police department can't do it all. You've got to have some help.
Without a doubt. So, we recently met with Governor Haslam's wife, and we're just talking about literacy. And as she was giving some of the same statistics that I've heard Director Dorsey Hobson, give, and we talk about the literacy rate, and that if we can't get these kids reading at grade level, studies show that they're kind of trapped. They probably will enter the criminal justice system. So I think about that's what I'm talking about, is that there's so much work to be done. We all have a part. I just want everybody to do their part. I tell people, take 5 minutes to mentor a child. Take 5 minutes to make sure that the child has, you can expose them to something, challenge them to do something. Take 5 to ask how we can better serve our community. Take 5 to see the broader picture. Take 5 to introduce, someone to Christ so you could help them get to a better place. So those are the things I talk about that may not cost a lot of money, but if we all start doing those every single day, we don't pass up an opportunity to help mentor someone. We can move things along a lot faster and make Memphis the city that we know Memphis deserves to be.
What do you see as your biggest challenge as police director in the next 6 months?
Well, the next 6 months are the same 5 priorities we established. Retention, keeping our good officers here. We know we've been challenged by benefits, but keeping the officers here. Recruiting new men and women to the force. Reducing crime. Focusing on our community outreach and our gang intervention. It's hard for me to say one. I have to group them up in 5 things because they're all equally important. But those are the 5 that we're focusing on right now.
Director, you've been in this police department a long time. You've been in leadership a long time. Now you're the director. What do you think the directorship of Michael Rallings will bring to this police department and this city?
Well, I hope it's going to bring a better relationship with the community. One of the things that I'm committed to is to develop a strategic plan so that when I walk away from this department, it's a better department, and we've laid a future for our future leaders to walk in and say, you know what, those guys did a good job setting the foundation for us, and now we're going to take it to another level, because I want, our legacy to be that, you know what, they had a lot of challenges. They faced every single challenge, and, they've reduced crime, increased the staff, increased community outreach, and also increased their ability to reach out to, and do gang intervention and interrupt, these criminal enterprises again, for our citizens to say that, we feel safer and we love our police department.
Thank you, Director Rallings.
Thank you. Have a great day.
This is the Commercial Appeal.